court is not inclined to dismiss this case, and it should.
What you state as fact, that Lieutenant Fanning had control over and access to this jury, is simply not true, Mr. Jackson.
He said that he would produce the receipts. Now he's admitting he does not have the receipts.
The defense is hard-pressed now at this moment where they are trying to create prejudice that doesn't exist.
That's money well spent!
We've heard countless arguments, but where are the rulings when it comes to the case of defendant Karen Reed? The deadlines are looming, and we're talking about what comes next for the murder retrial that's scheduled to begin next month. And defendant Donna Adelson's husband, Harvey, has been cited, supporting her from the courtroom gallery. And we're talking about what we can expect from him and from their daughter, Wendy, once Mama Donna's murder trial begins. Plus, we're spotlighting Sheriff Mickey Stein's insanity defense. We're looking at all the available video evidence to see where he may have lost his grip on reality. Plus, the emotional hitman who could be tipping the scales of justice in the celebrity hairstylist murder trial for Monica Sementilli. The killer who some are calling likable. We'll discuss coming up. It's all coming up right here for you on Opening Statements. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. This is the show I like to call Coffee and Court. We get you all warmed up and ready to go for the big day ahead on Court TV Live. We got a great show planned, so let's get it going. Grab that cup of coffee right now. It's time for my opening statement. You know, endings are often disguised as new beginnings. It's not over for Andrew, Alexander, and Tanner Skelton. Yes, the probate court made a big legal declaration that they are in fact deceased. But you know, the way I see it, the declaration also marks a brand new beginning to find, prosecute, and punish their killer. You know, in probate court, we learned a lot of incriminating things about the children's father. Things like him telling law enforcement conflicting garbage stories about who the boys were left with. First, he said a friend. Then he said an underground group. And then there are, of course, the web searches on John Skelton's computer for how to break someone else's neck with hands. And can rat poison kill a person? Yeah, he searched for those things. And of course, we've got the suicide note that he wrote to the boy's mother, apologizing for hurting her on purpose this time. You know, John Skelton, he lies so much, even his lies tell lies. So now, because of the boy's death declaration and the broadcasting of the probate court proceedings, now so many more people are aware of this case. I had never heard of it. And so many more people now want to see the Skelton boys get justice. I know you do. This moment in time, nearly 15 years after those beautiful boys vanished, marks a brand new chapter full of hopefulness in the quest for justice for Andrew, Alexander, and Tanner. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
Was there any alcohol on her bill or a pop or anything else?
One glass of wine and a water.
Did she seem like she was intoxicated?
No.
Would have you served her if she was intoxicated?
Absolutely not.
The defense is expected to arrest today in the birthday party murder trial for defendant Marcella Chedister. That's going to start up at 9 a.m. Eastern. We will go there together when it does. In California, we've got the nice, friendly hitman Christopher Austin returning to the stand in the celebrity hairstylist murder trial. That testimony is gripping. It's going to start at noon Eastern. And in Wisconsin, we got defendant Morgan Geyser. Remember her from the Slenderman case? Well, she's got a hearing on her release from a mental health institution. She's the young woman who was 12 years old when she stabbed her classmate to death I'm sorry, did not kill her classmate, stabbed her classmate, injured her brutally. Thank God she survived. And it was all part of pleasing this online fictional character named Slenderman. Yeah, so she's getting out. That's a whole nother thing. We'll talk about it another time. Right now, we got to hit our top story. Deadlines are looming in Dedham, Massachusetts, as defendant Karen Reed was back in court this week, twice ahead of her upcoming murder retrial. Allegations of jury interference and a missing Sally Port video were two of the arguments that her defense team made in their motion to try to get the case dismissed. But in a big bombshell moment, Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan walked the court through the Sally Port accusations and why they cannot be true.
Perhaps the best evidence that contradicts the defense position that there's any relevance to the Sally Port video, that there's any type of plant by anybody, is from the defendant herself. Ms. Reed spoke to Gretchen Voss on June 20th, 2023. And in that testimony, or in that interview, she said, when my car was seized, there was a few small pieces of taillight missing that I had picked out at John's at 5:45 before we drove over to Fairview. I'm showing Jen and Kerry, look what I just did to my light. And I'm worried that there's gonna be some kind of electric short circuit. There's like the bulb is showing and some of the red plastic is missing. So I picked pieces out of the light housing that kind of collapsed within the light and dropped them in John's driveway.
What a moment that was. Pants on fire, Karen Reed. Before you saw that bombshell, Hank Brennan showed the court multiple photographs of her car prior to going to 34 Fairview Road and finding her boyfriend John, and the taillight is broken in all of those pictures. It was a masterful move. Now, let's bring in our guest and talk about what this is going to look like when he does it in front of the jury. I want to welcome in someone who's followed this case from the beginning. He's a nationally known radio host and the creator and the host of the popular show Road Patrol Live. John DePietro is with us. John, good morning to you. You were my favorite account to follow on Twitter, always, just in life. But yesterday, I have to say, my favorite tweet of the day was when you tweeted and you compared Hank Brennan to Tom Brady, how he's making plays. Talk to me about what you were seeing today that's been so remarkably different than what we've seen previously during this prosecution.
Julie, as you know, Boston's a huge sports town. We're going to stay with some of the analogies. Hank Brennan, to me, reminded me it's yard by yard. It's slowly moving the prosecution down the field. You're picking up first downs, and then your eyes are always on the end zone. It reminded me of Tom Brady when he would bring these last-minute drives with the Patriots. Meanwhile, on the defense, Alan Jackson. Julie, this is like a Red Sox player who's in a slump. He doesn't have the same swagger. He doesn't have the confidence that he carried in the courtroom. Defense attorney Alan Jackson, make no mistake about it, Julie. I was there. He owned the courtroom last spring. He owned the courtroom inside. He owned the courtroom outside. Alan Jackson is like a shell of himself. He's just kind of wailing away. A really interesting dynamic. Hank Brennan is playing serious chess. He is slowly swatting away all these defense motions. But I think a big part of what's going on is that the Judge Cannoni, is not allowing Alan Jackson to get away with maybe some of the things they got away with in the spring. The defense continually find themselves on the defensive, and they're asking to back up a lot of these very strong allegations that they're making. Hank Brennan right now, I would say he really owns the courtroom, controls the courtroom. The defense are constantly trying to come up with some momentum. And I think yesterday was a good example. This Sally Port video, Julie, it's ludicrous. There's nothing there. As someone, mentioned to me, are they supposed to hand over all the video that was inside the police station? How the defense framed things as missing evidence. None of it, it's all exposed. None of it means anything. All have explanations. The Sally Port video, to me, they're going to lose on this ruling. because the taillight was damaged much prior to it ever arriving at that Canton police station. And Hank Brennan, Julie, he just has such a natural manner in which he explains it very, very effectively. The words of the defendant, the words of the defense, all these media interviews, they're finally being held accountable for them. And their own words are coming back to haunt them. That is something that was really missing in the first trial.
Yes, yes, to everything you said. And as we're looking at the screen, John, just a moment ago, we're seeing the Sallyport video. And I think for anybody who's got questions about this, the defense, I have to hand it to them. During the trial, they created a major moment and did a great job confusing the jury to think that there was something suspicious being done when they flagged the inverted video. And Adam Lally didn't really have a good answer for them. I think he was stunned, caught off guard, didn't realize it. Look, I know what it's like to be a prosecutor. You're inundated with cases. He was clearly outmatched by a very sharp defense team. Hank Brennan explained this away in a couple minutes yesterday when he's saying, the way the camera shoots the video, it's all shot mirrored, just like with our cell phones, right? We're all probably going to take a selfie today, and it's going to be mirrored. You know, he explained it away, and I think when he showed all those photos, John, I was blown away yesterday at how succinct Brennan is, because throughout the trial, we know the whole debate was when was the taillight broken. The defense was, you know, screaming and saying, oh, this was planted evidence, blah, blah, blah. And Brennan shows the photos, shows that in the driveway, I mean, several different video clips. He did it in 5 minutes, put to bed what the defense has been trying to do in this argument with planting, didn't he?
And the judge was interactive. Judge Cannoni at one point even said, I see it, as he was talking about the white light. Julie, something really important has happened here, and I can't stress this enough. The announcement that the federal investigation is over, and that basically, you know, they didn't find the federal investigation, they didn't find anything that gives any type of credence to the conspiracy. The witnesses are not being, you know, investigated. There's no indictments coming. That hung over the first trial. And I mean, I know the defense may say, well, the jury never knew about it, you know, but the way they carried themselves and the swagger, they talked about it and hinted at it outside the courtroom. Inside the courtroom, the defense had a certain pizzazz about them, the fact that there was this, quote, federal investigation coming. They also used it with the media. A lot of times when I would be chatting with different members of the media, both local and national, in the media line, a lot of them would say, well, you know, there is a federal investigation going on. And it almost gave a get-out-of-jail-free card for the most outrageous, outlandish conspiracy ideas, because that was hanging there. In my mind, Julie, the defense has not regrouped. They're not sure how to handle the fact that the federal investigation is over. There are no indictments coming. The federal investigation found that there was no credence to this talk of a police conspiracy. Right. I believe the defense has not come up with a way yet to counter, and everyone is looking at them differently, whether it's the judge or whether it's the media.
Mm-hmm. Right, John. I appreciate you bringing that up, because that has been somewhat of a fallback argument, somewhat of an argument that just keeps, you know, being forwarded, you know, on social media. Oh, but the feds are investigating. It's important to remember, and I know you know this, it was Karen Reed and David Yannetti who initiated this. They went to Joshua Levy and said, you ought to look into this, and it found nothing. No evidence of corruption, no evidence of anything wrong with any of these innocent witnesses who've been tortured. And Hank Brennan, as we've talked about before, has exposed that relationship between Karen Reed and Turtle Boy. You know, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Tell me, did you think yesterday, I know there was a moment with Judge Cannoni and Alan Jackson that got pretty heated. We may have that clip. Did you sense some annoyance? Is there a different Judge Cannoni, maybe in the way she's talking with Alan Jackson from what we saw in the first trial?
I'm glad you mentioned that, Julie, and picked up on it. 100% yes. She is questioning every word. Alan Jackson is off balance. He's not the Alan Jackson. I'll say one thing. I sat there last spring. He owned the courtroom, and not just inside, outside the courtroom. That dynamic is gone. I find Judge Cannoni is questioning every single word that he says. She questions them. She's very aggressive in her questioning of him in specific words. Yesterday was so dramatic as Hank Brennan and Alan Jackson, two very skilled attorneys, battling it out. But I would say right now a huge difference is the way the judge views the defense. And she even has said that their answers are unsatisfactory, that they're incomplete. I also like, and this is important, Hank Brennan is pointing out the extraordinary nature of the allegations that they're making with no substance. To say jury tampering and no evidence. Julie, Fanning, I went back and looked at my notes. Trooper Fanning, he was unbelievable in the courtroom. I have down he was the best trooper that testified. Yannetti, they wanted him off the stand to now try to turn around and try to say that this guy, you know, Trooper Fanning was somehow initiating and interfering with the jury. It's not going to fly.
He didn't have any contact with them. Right.
And I want to mention one more thing, and this is so important. Hank Brennan also laid out for everyone, and he does it in such an effective manner, that the way the defense operates, and the Super Bowl interview was a perfect example, where they initiate, let's do an interview, and a local Boston TV station says, we'll put it on after the Super Bowl with a huge audience. And then during the course of dealing, the defense, from what I understand, kind of led them into, you may want to ask us how we feel about the jury. And then, boom, they act like, oh, we don't know anything about it. And it just explodes into the internet and all of the people, all these chat rooms. The fact that Hank Brennan is laying out for the judge, the fact that Judge Cannoni said, I'll have to look at that interview, that is not what the defense wants. He basically exposed the playbook where the Reed team, they throw out something on the Sally Port or about the jury, and then the rest of their minions kind of run with it.
Right. We've seen it before. There's so much to this case. I have so many more questions for you, John. We're out of time for now, but we'll see if we get these rulings coming, hopefully today or tomorrow. TikTok, as you know. John DePietro, Road Patrol Live. Check it out. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Julie.
Coming up next here on Opening Statements.
You're making a mistake. It's not a mistake. It's two mistakes.
Talking about Mama Donna and her husband Harvey. What's his plan during the upcoming trial? And former Sheriff Mickey Steins plans on using the insanity defense. We're asking, at what point did the sheriff go insane? We'll be right back.
An Iowa man is found unconscious after crashing his car. He asked police to check on his girlfriend, recalling flashes of violence. Now he's on trial for her brutal murder.
The Visions of Violence murder trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
This stuff about playing a race card is preposterous. The racial division was so great that people saw the facts differently.
Trial and Error. Why did O.J. win? New episode Sunday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific. Only on Court TV.
I've gained more than a third of my body weight here. The diet is all carbs, no protein. I don't have any antibiotic cream, and I don't have a Band-Aid. Borrowing sanitary pads. She said, you're going to buy me commissary. You don't snitch, you don't tell on anyone, because you'll be sorry you did.
Well, now for what's trending in true crime. For the first time, Donna Adelson's husband, Harvey, is appearing in the courtroom to support his wife. That was a clip from her last hearing, and I want to show you this photograph taken by the Tallahassee Democrat, and it shows Harvey sitting in the gallery at that hearing that we watched together last week. Now, you'll recall Harvey was with Donna when she was arrested at the Miami airport as they were trying to board that flight together to Vietnam.
You're making a mistake. It's not a mistake. It's two mistakes. Can you take it off, please, Donna? I don't want to hurt her. Please.
Just a minute, it's getting listen to me.
Yeah. I'll call.
Yeah, can you Uber, go home?
I will.
but we haven't seen Harvey since. So we're wondering, what will Harvey do during Donna's trial? How might he be supporting her? Let's bring in our power panel. I've got three great guests standing by. I want to welcome them in now. The host of the podcast, Pretty Lies and Alibis, Gigi McKelvey, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Michael J. Brown, and civil attorney, criminal defense attorney, and attorney to the stars, John Phillips. Good morning to you all. All right, what do we think about Harvey showing up? Gigi, would you start us off, please?
Yeah, I mean, Donna was arrested in November of 2023, and we haven't seen Harvey at any of her hearings. But one of the things the defense proposed to the judge when they were asking for bond is that Harvey would come up to Tallahassee and get a place to stay with Donna while she awaits trial. So I think that's probably the reason he decided to show up to that hearing, just to show the judge he is willing to travel from Miami up to Tallahassee to support his wife. Didn't work. Will we see him at the trial? I'm very curious. They didn't come to Charlie's trial, but this is his wife, so I guess we will see here soon.
Right, Gigi. Michael J. Brown, what do you think about Harvey?
Good morning, everybody. I think it was important for him to show his face, so to speak, because what you have here is a very sympathetic-looking individual coupled with the wife. So I think it was important for him to be seen. And in terms of the trial, what I envision is he may very well be an important witness for the defense, and that remains to be seen.
Right. Oh, good point. John Phillips, last but not least, your thoughts on Harvey?
I agree with my esteemed colleagues. You know, he made that trip, you know, that kind of has to bypass Jacksonville from South Florida over to Tallahassee. He didn't stop by and say hey or retain me, so I'm a little upset about that. But
he should. If he's smart, he needs to bring you to court with him, John.
We need money these days. Like, you know, everybody. I've got kids going to, you know, high school and college soon. So.
Well, you know, and I mean, some of us, and myself included, thought Harvey may be charged. I remember listening to that testimony about the money that was literally laundered, according to Catherine Megbanawa, dropped off, you know, and, you know, when she was talking about being there at the house with Charlie and saying that Donna and Harvey dropped it, I remember thinking, oh boy, Harvey better be concerned, but he has not been charged, nor has Wendy. So let's talk about her. So Harvey makes an appearance, Wendy has not. Let's take a look back at her testifying at Brother Charlie's trial.
After the murder of Mr. Markell, did Charlie Adelson take you out for a celebration dinner?
No, I do remember that dinner. After Danny died, I was terrified that someone was going to come after me or my children and harm us as well. And so I didn't leave my house for about a month. And when I finally felt ready to leave the house and have dinner, I told my brother that I wanted to have dinner, that I was ready to finally go to a restaurant and eat a meal again. But it was certainly not a celebration.
Oh, so where's Wendy these days? Is she going to be next? Yeah, many of us, myself included, thought she was going to be charged already. But she has not been to date. So let's go again around the room here. Gigi McKelvey, what do you think about Wendy Adelson?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. We're all wondering, are they going to wait until after Donna's trial like they did with arresting Donna once Charlie was found guilty? You know, I think Wendy's an attorney and she's smart, and if she was involved in this, probably did not express very much in the way of electronics through text message or emails. Seems like Charlie and Donna just let it fly everywhere. Yeah, I mean, I'm very curious. It seems like she and Harvey both so far have been lucky and escaped. But, you know, Wendy now has moved out of Florida, seems to be very removed from her family and all the jail calls and everything we've heard. She really hasn't had contact with her mom or Charlie. And maybe she's hoping that she can testify this one last time and be done. But we will see. I think Prosecutor Kappelman is playing a very strategic game of chess in this case and seems to make her arrest at just the right time. So maybe we'll get that breaking news alert once Donna's trial is all finished.
Right. And Gigi, did you get intel that she's in Austin, Texas? I believe that's where Joel Waldman had said that he learned she relocated to.
Yeah, that's what we're hearing, is that she moved completely far away from Miami to Texas with the boys. And other than that, we haven't heard too much about where she's at right now.
I wonder if anyone is surveilling her there. Michael J. Brown, what do you think? If law enforcement gets word she's there, do you think they're keeping eyes on her?
Yeah, I think what they're doing, Julia, is they're going to wait for this other trial with Donna, with her mom, and they're hoping that she testifies, hoping that she has additional testimony. There clearly is going to be inconsistencies. And if they think they have enough, they're going to make their move. There's no rush. They want to make sure that if they do arrest her and charge her, that they have all their ducks in a row. So no rush. Wait until she testifies, get more testimony, and then I think they'll move in.
Michael J. Brown, I think you're exactly right. They're just waiting. They're waiting to see what comes out at the trial. John Phillips, take us home on this point. Wendy Adelson, what do you think?
I agree. Once again, you know, we're going to go 6-0 here. You know, Donna is the big fish, and savvy prosecutors want to make sure they get the big fish in the boat, and then they can go and see how they're going to set up all the next round of things.
John, well said. The big fish isn't eating a lot of fish, according to her. She's eating too many carbs, so she says. She says she's upset. She's gaining weight in the jail. Jail's not a pleasant place. You all know that. All right, we'll leave it here for now. We've got to say goodbye to our friend Gigi McKelvey. Great having you back on the show. We'll look forward to seeing you again here, and check out Gigi's podcast, Pretty Lies and Alibis. Still to come here on Opening Statements. Here's what we've got.
We're almost to the jail. Last time. Is there anything to do with your family?
Sheriff Mickey Steins going with an insanity defense. Will it work? Our legal eagles weigh in. But before we go to the break, this really happened in Florida. Look at this. Come to your television screen. Police say that a thief gulped down a pair of earrings worth more than $700,000 as he was being taken into custody. They caught the guy fleeing at a Tiffany & Company jewelry store in Orlando. Now investigators have to, this is terrible. They got to wait, if you know what I mean, to collect that expensive piece of evidence. So don't want that job. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This morning, we're shining the spotlight on the case of former Sheriff Mickey Steins. He was arrested last year after he fatally shot his friend and colleague, District Judge Kevin Mullins, the shooting happening in the judge's chambers. Well, a newly filed document reveals that Steins' attorney plans to present an insanity defense. Remember, just days ago, we obtained this new video footage of the events, including I see his exit from the courthouse right after the shooting. I can see Steins very calmly walking out. Others appear to be rushing in. Now, shortly after he was arrested, and police body camera footage picked up what he was saying to the officers. Take a listen.
Can we loosen this up a little or give the window down? I'm sorry? Can we loosen this up a little? Be fair to me, man. I got some air. I'll crack the window for you, but I can turn the air on back here. Okay? Yeah. Be fair to me now. I promise, man. Yeah, I promise. God, please. I promise. It's hot back here, man. I can't breathe.
Well, this is so interesting. So could an insanity defense work here? And if so, at what point did Steins go insane? Let's bring in our guest. So this is going to be a good segment here. Michael J. Brown still with us. I want to welcome in retired NYPD detective and Professor Mike Alcazar. Good morning to you, Detective. All right, so I want to look with you both at these videos because we know what these two were doing and how everything was just fine, and then it was not. So starting out, they're in the judge's chambers, they're having a meeting, and the judge is having a cigarette. You can see the sheriff sitting across from him. All is well and good. Then they go off to lunch together. They enjoy a nice meal. Everything is fine. You see them all walking back together in a group. Everybody seems peaceful and to be getting along. And then we see the shooting happen in the chambers. Sheriff Steins squares up, takes aim at the judge. The judge hides underneath his desk, tries running from him, shoots him multiple times. And then afterward, That video we just saw together where he is calm, cool, and collected coming out of the courthouse. Okay, so if he went insane, when did it happen, and can this defense be successful? Michael J. Brown, to you first, a masterful criminal defense attorney you are. Does this sound like a good defense to you?
Well, it's going to be tough, Julie. Let me just say this. I think the defense attorney put the state on notice on two possibilities. One is extreme emotional disturbance, and one is the insanity defense. I suspect they did that because there's time limitations like we have here in New York, and they're going to sort it out once they get their psychiatric people involved. Now, having said that, and they're two totally different defenses, having said that, on the insanity, I think it's going to be an extremely tough sell. Because what you have on the insanity, you have to develop a psychiatric history. And at the moment of the incident, they didn't appreciate the seriousness, the gravity, the wrongfulness of their actions. You can tell so much by both the lead-in video, which we're watching now, as well as the video during the actual shooting and after the shooting. There's nothing, and I'm not a psychiatrist, but just from a common sense approach, there's nothing that we see that would say, hey, this individual is insane. Again, that's completely different than extreme emotional disturbance, so we can get into that after if you choose.
Yeah, I appreciate that. This is a great point. Michael J. Brown, hold that thought about emotional disturbance. Mike Alcazar, looking at these videos, you've analyzed them, knowing what goes into an investigation like this. What do you think when you hear he may want to present an insanity defense?
I agree with Michael. He seemed pretty cool, before the incident and a little bit calculating. So, yeah, I agree. I don't think it's going to bode well for him. He seemed to be a cool customer. He seemed to be biding his time and until he committed this homicide.
There may be more information. There is. We just don't know it. You both know how there's something that was learned between the sheriff and the judge. We know that the sheriff made a phone call from the judge's phone to his daughter and discovered his daughter's contact information in the phone. Don't know, but perhaps something pertaining to his minor daughter might have set him off. Detective Alcazar, do things change then? If there was something, who knows what, something terrible, something, what is the worst thing you could think of? Could that possibly have caused him to split second lose it?
Sure. Part of the investigation, we're going to look at his electronic history, his email history, any kind of investigations involving potentially his family. Maybe the judge was involved. So maybe then you can have some kind of a component that said, okay, that's what triggered him. Maybe that's what set him off. And again, that's for the lawyers to argue that.
Right, exactly. Michael J. Brown, does that change anything if there was something terrible, if he was mad at this judge for some reason that people could understand? Do you think that gives the defense any more weight?
It does. It's a tremendous issue on the extreme emotional disturbance, Julie. So that's the triggering event type of defense. And we learned this in Law School 101 when you walk home, you get home from work and you walk into your bedroom and you see your wife in bed with your neighbor and you lose it. It's a triggering event. You end up killing him. And in those couple of moments, you just lost control. It's not a defense to the crime, but what it does do is get you to a lower crime. Specifically a manslaughter in the first degree, which is still a significant crime, but it's a lesser crime. So that's something we have no idea by watching these videos. You don't know if there was a triggering event. A triggering event literally could be a 10 or 15-second incident. And I think you hit the nail on the head. There's something with the daughter, and we don't know. We don't want to speculate, but something horrific, if that happened, that absolutely would be what would constitute a triggering event and could be an extreme emotional disturbance type of defense.
Michael J. Brown, thank you for that. Yeah, when you say that, it makes sense. I think it's something relatable to people. And Detective Alcazar, we know that Sheriff Steins made some comments to investigators right after about thinking that someone was coming after his family. He made some comment, I don't know the exact words, but it was something like they're trying to kidnap my family. And what does that make you think? If you came upon him right after this event, you hear a guy say that after he just shot his friend and colleague.
Yeah, you know, that would be a concern, right? That's something that he's emotional about, and like Michael said, maybe that's what triggered the act. So we would definitely look into, again, his history, any kind of a domestic history. What's going on with him and his wife? What's going on with him and his children? And what's the relationship between the family and the judge? So a lot of background information that I'm sure they're combing through right now and will be revealed during the trial.
Yeah, Detective, you're exactly right. The family, the relationships, these are people that knew each other well, have a long history of being colleagues and friends, which makes this case all the more disturbing. So many questions still unanswered. We'll leave it here for now, but great points from you both, as always. Detective Alcazar, welcome back. Come back again soon. We've missed you. Michael J. Brown, we're going to see you next week. Thank you both so much for everything this morning. And coming up next here on Opening Statements.
All the years I spent working with high-risk youth, I always told them, I was like, I can't ask you to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself. And they got to stand in it. And so that is what I did. I stood in what I did, and I let the chips fall wherever they may.
Have you ever seen a hitman with a heart of gold? We might be looking at him right here in this trial. Get ready. We're talking about what is tipping the scales in the case against Monica Sementilli.
An Iowa man is found unconscious after crashing his car. He asked police to check on his girlfriend, recalling flashes of violence. Now he's on trial for her brutal murder.
The Visions of Violence murder trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
This stuff about playing a race card is preposterous. The racial division was so great that people saw the facts differently.
Trial and Error. Why did O.J. win? New episode Sunday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific. Only on Court TV.
Do you see the person in that picture?
Yes, sir, I do.
Do you know who that is?
That's the victim, sir.
You know his name?
Fabio Sementilli.
Did you kill him?
I was a part of that, yes.
You stabbed him in the neck?
Yes, sir.
In order to kill him, along with Mr. Baker, correct?
Yes, sir. He said that his girlfriend didn't want him around anymore. And so he asked me to do it with him. And I went.
Let's talk about what's tipping the scales. For a third straight day, the state's star witness, the hitman, will return to the stand. On day number 2, here's what happened. Christopher Austin didn't waver on his claims that Monica Sementilli was involved in her husband Fabio's murder, consistently connecting the dots from Monica to her lover, Robert Baker, to him. So Baker was the go-between. Let's take a listen to what he said about the moments before he murdered Fabio Sementilli.
Everything that I told him came from Baker via Monica, from his cell phone. Everything that I was told, he didn't move until he got a text message. So when he got a text message about the killing of Mr. Fabio, everything he did after he got a text message, which told me that he was talking to her via text message. I did not hear him talk to her on the phone. I did not talk to her on the phone. But everything that happened in sequence was after he talked to her. As we jogged up the hill and we got closer to the door, he turned back and looked at me and said he should be on the patio.
Did he say how he knew that he should be on the patio?
He told me that before we left, he said that she left him home alone and he should be on the patio.
Okay.
He reminded me of that.
Oh, are you believing the hitman's testimony? He's pretty likable, isn't he? That's what everybody keeps saying who's watching this, is saying what a likable guy. Doesn't seem like he could do a murder, but he did. Let's bring in our attorney guest, John Phillips, for some analysis now. John, have you ever seen a hitman like this one?
I found his ad. Hitman with a heart, hire me.
The heart.
Yeah, you know I had to.
Oh, I love it. I love when you bring in the notes and the signs and all the props.
You know, this is probably one I can't show my kids, even though they have Uncle Joe Exotic, you know, that
Uncle Joe Exotic, your client.
Yeah. You know, he is coming from the heart. And I think it is, you know, particularly when you have Robert Baker who pled, it is all kind of tearing the jury as to what they should believe, because it is all third-party communications. You know, it's not hearsay by definition because it's related to a murder. But you know, it's hard to hear because you don't want somebody to be talking about murder and murder for hire, you know, with a level of frankness and compassion. We're used to and programmed to kind of want to have to dig in to find out why people really did this, and they're all just kind of coming clean and tying Monica right back to all of it.
Mm-hmm. Right, John. So the one thing that's good for Monica Sementilli, as you know, is that she didn't have any direct contact with the hitman, Mr. Austin. He's acknowledged time and time again it was all done through the go-between, her lover, former porn star, sex offender, whatever, was he racquetball coach or tennis coach, whatever he was, Robert Baker. So I want to play a clip for you now. On the cross, Mr. Austin talking about how he got pulled into this mess with Monica and her lover.
I got pulled in because I don't know why I got pulled in, but I got pulled in. Like a dummy, I went with him. He told me, I won't let anything happen to you. You're not from here. No one's looking for you. And that's what I've been told.
Okay, do you believe him when he says that, John?
That's the hardest part, right? Because, you know, he wants to be likable, and he knows he did wrong, and it shouldn't be that easy to get pulled in to a murder. And so, you know, when you deal with the murders for hire and the cover-ups, you know, there's a lot of subterfuge, there's a lot of false information traveling back and forth. Generally, you know, you have more sophisticated individuals that are trying to, you know, facilitate a cover-up the whole time. Like, they don't want all of this to be, you know, that obvious. And it's just, it's like, okay, I went along with him. It seemed like the right thing to do because, you know, he was mean. That's the hardest part for me to kind of add up into logic.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, you know, I'm with you. I think that there's some truthfulness coming from him, without a doubt. And then there are some answers where you go, yeah, but you know what, sir? I mean, this isn't like someone's asking for a small favor. Hey, could you stick your neck out and do X, Y, Z? This is do a murder, take a man's life with a knife, too. I mean, John, you've seen a lot throughout your career. I always think with stabbing cases, it always gave me chills when I would handle them. It's so personal. It's so intimate. It's far different than firing a gun at somebody, you know, from a distance, is it not?
100%. You have to be up close. The blood spatter is tremendous. I mean, you hit an artery and it is squirting. I mean, it is nasty. And, you know, I've got everything from, you know, YNW Melly shooting case to other cases where we're looking at, you know, stippling and you know, gunshot residue and spatter. And it's just, it's a cleaner death. Horribly to say, you know, right. But, you know, stabbing somebody to death, stabbing around the neck is such a bloody, you know, intimate scene. And, you're looking them in the eye sometimes unless you get them from behind. And it's just, this guy's character that he's portraying to the jury doesn't fit with that because which is it? Is he the teddy bear that's admitting to everything and he shouldn't have gone along with it, but he did? Or is he the kind of guy that would, you know, cut somebody's throat?
John, you said that so well. Is he the teddy bear or is he a cold-blooded killer? You know, it's like the guy is trying to be both. It seems like that's what we're seeing. We're calling him the hitman with a heart of gold from now on. That's going to be his new nickname, courtesy of our wonderful senior producer, Eric Goldson. All right, we're got to leave it there for now. Noon, this case starts back up. John Phillips, we got to let you go off and handle all of your cases. Thank you for everything and for that great sign today. We'll see you soon. That's it for opening statements. Be sure to watch this episode again. Share it with your friends. Go to courttv.com to do that when we